I think I'm about to do it. Sailing Warren G. Ties combination. In the industry, here comes another one. What up, everybody? What up? We got another video. I'm making video today, peeps. I got my smoothie. I know it don't look that good because I ain't got no fruits or anything. This is all vegetables. And when I say vegetables, I'm talking about spinach, broccoli, cauliflower, and carrots. And there's some bananas in it. So that's about the only fruit I have. I have flaxseed, honey, and there's soy milk. So all mixed together. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and talk about something that I never really talked about this, and I'm gonna tell you why I'm doing this. I'm gonna talk to you about something that happened to me back in 2002, actually, the summer of 2002. And I never said anything about this. It has been in my mind before because it was a weird something that was the weirdest thing I've ever had happen to me in regards to people. And so I'm gonna tell you my story later on. I want to watch this. I haven't seen it, but I do want to. I want to play it, and we're gonna watch together. I might stop to actually do my commentary. I will tell you, I'm going to be harsh and I'm going to be critical, but I want to do this because I want to hit the point home on what she's going to probably hit on. Now, I didn't find out about this sort of thing until when was it? Probably 2014. The first time I heard about it. Um, yeah, that goes, and this will show you the type of lifestyle I had. I was definitely a little sheltered, so to speak, on this. Not so much so, but yeah, this a tidbit sheltered. Anyways, what are we talking about, Peace? We're talking about human trafficking. Human trafficking is a big issue apparently. Even now, it's getting on. It's a big issue for your small towns, right? So it's not. So when you think of human trafficking, you're thinking about like New York, L.A., Miami, maybe Houston, not the big cities, Atlanta. But you're not thinking about like um Kansas City. I think Kansas City is actually among those too, but you're not thinking about like Tulsa or Wichita or Lincoln, Nebraska, or hell, even in Maine, like Portland, Maine. You're not thinking about those type of cities that human trafficking would be a thing, but it is. And I could be wrong on this, but I'm almost positive that there's actually more men, not men, it's boys being trafficked the most out of all the sexes. I could be wrong on that, but I know it's children, women, and then even older people. So, so yeah, that's what we're gonna do. This is from Jade Sailor. Oh, okay. She looks young. 4 years ago, and it has 1 million views. So we're gonna watch this, and this is I was almost sex trafficked in NYC. So it's about 21 minutes long, just to let y'all know. So let us get into it, babies.
3 times a week. I did not post at all during the month of November. One of the main reasons I wanted to film this was to explain why I didn't post the whole month. And I look back and I'm like, God, how was I that stupid? Like, how did I not see this happening? When you're actually in the moment, like, you really don't. So, like, I just want to, I don't know, just share my story so that maybe if you ever find yourself in this situation, you can think back and be like, I know what's happening. Like, I need to.
She's got a country accent, so she must be from the South. Um, I know she said that what she's saying, what looked back at it and it was stupid. I'm gonna tell you right now, I have seen a little bit of a documentary on sex trafficking, and I'm telling you right now, it is some big brain ass shit. Like the first off, I don't care how good you are socially, nonverbal cues, and all that. I'm gonna be honest with you. It really just boils down to how you move in life. That's the only way you're gonna get from preventing yourself from being trafficked, because it's big brain shit. Because the thing is, it's not even just strangers doing this. It can get down to your own damn family members trafficking you, and you don't know because there are signs, but it's kind of like I feel like that at the time that you even recognize the signs, it's pretty much too damn late. But yeah, it's some big brain. I mean, it's very sophisticated. This isn't your typical meal of stranger danger. This is you probably know this person or known this person for years, and then they decide to traffic at you, and it's just the way that it goes. It's crazy. But let's go.
I need to remove myself from this situation immediately. This is crazy. Like, I never thought I would tell this story on camera just because I don't necessarily want to. I don't want the wrong person to see it. But then again, I feel like it could potentially help someone. So I'm gonna tell the story. So if you guys are ready, I've already wasted 3 minutes of time talking about the backstory. So here we go. First weekend of November, the story takes place New York City. I was there with my mom, my grandmother, two of my best friends, their mom, and their grandmother. So the two moms, our moms, were running the New York City Marathon on Saturday. So Saturday night, Alabama was playing LSU, and I wanted to watch. Our moms were going to
She's from Alabama. I can already tell you this based on the accent. She's from Alabama.
bed early, and because they were running the marathon the next morning, our two rooms were literally right across the hall from each other, and I had nowhere to watch the game because everyone was going to bed early. My mom was like, why don't you just go watch it in the lobby downstairs, like where the bar is? I'm sure they would turn the game on. So that is what I did, and I went with my friend. I'm gonna say her name's Katie because I don't know if she wants her name out there about this. So we go down and we're watching the game. We're both wearing
I'm actually curious. I don't remember her saying how old she was when this happened. But I'm thinking she may have been a kid or a teenager, like later on in her teenage years. But maybe not. Maybe she was an adult.
Alabama shirt. So this woman walks in. She's pretty. She looks like she's about 30. She was acting drunk. Like, I thought she was just drunk. She was so funny though. Like, to watch her was almost hilarious. And she is so personable. Like, she was just talking to everybody. Just like what you do when you go out. But like, this wasn't a real bar. It was just a hotel.
I want y'all to pay attention because this is some big brain shit. Big brain. You just heard the beginning parts of this. This is big brain.
Bar, but she was just being very friendly to everyone. So I'm watching her, and she like sits down in front of the TV at the bar, and she puts her phone up to it, and she's on Facebook Live. She's like recording the game, and I was like, oh, maybe she's a fan. And then like I watch her.
So basically, this was probably like a couple years ago. So she was an adult.
Turn the camera around and I'm on her phone screen. I was like, Katie, look, I'm on this girl's phone. But like at the time, I just thought maybe, she's from Alabama or LSU, she's a fan, and then I'm sitting over here acting like an idiot over this game, and she's putting me on her Facebook Live. And I was like, no big deal. Then I just completely forgot that ever happened, okay? A few minutes later, she turns around, she's like, are you guys from Alabama? And we're like, no, we're from Kentucky. I'm just a big Alabama fan, like blah, blah, blah. She's like, oh, okay, well, I was gonna pull for LSU, but they suck, so I'll be an Alabama fan with you. And I was like, okay, cool. She just like starts talking to us. She's having like a normal conversation, just like you would meet anybody else in a bar. But she's funny because like I genuinely thought she was just really drunk and a little crazy. So we're like enjoying her company because she's funny. She can tell she's kind of getting on my nerves because like I'm trying to watch the game and she's trying to talk to me. So she finally backs off. She's just sitting there by herself. She came by herself. Halfway through the game, this guy walks in and he's like dressed in a nice suit. Didn't really catch my attention, and I noticed like the two of them start talking. You could like overhear their conversation, and it was just like basic get to know you conversation. Like she was like, oh, do you like football? Like I could tell like they had just met, I thought. During their conversation, like she turns around, it's like halftime to us, and she's like, hey Bama girls, like how are we doing? I'm like, oh, we're doing better now. That's all she says. And then she like comes back there to show us something on her Facebook that it was just like so pointless, and I was just like, yeah, whatever. Then she goes back to talk to this guy again. Mind you, he never turned around to look at us, which I thought was kind of weird because like normally if someone that you're talking to is talking to someone else, like you're gonna interact in that conversation too, but he wanted nothing to do with us, never looked at us. And then like I guess in the third quarter he left, and so whenever he stood up to leave, I could hear her say, oh, when am I ever gonna see you again? So like you could tell like he had implied they were gonna see each other again. He left, and then she comes back to us where we're sitting at our
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm just going off of basically what she's saying. That is a very this is like super weird, and this shit right here is shit that you know is happening, and it's super weird. But then you just this so this I'm gonna give you some context in my story, and this is my life. This is why when I'm like on a bus somewhere, I've had people talk to me, but if I sense that they're just doing this random ass shit that don't make sense, I'll listen. I'll say stuff. I even will lie about stuff. When people ask me, "Well, are you from around here?" I'm like, "No, I'm from out of town." Or if I do say I am from where I'm at, because obviously, especially if I'm riding the city bus, I'll let them know. Oh yeah, yeah, I live on such and such street, because they won't necessarily know. Because usually, even if I'm getting off the bus, I'm walking like I'm going towards that particular, and then I back. But yeah, I when it came to adults were already. I didn't really like adults anyway. So all I wanted them to do is talk to me, and they just talk to me about random stuff. And I've had some good adults that would give me good advice, but then I would just have these adults that are doing stupid shit like that, where they just talk to you about random shit. There are things that they're talking to me about that, first off, you don't really talk to kids about, and it's not like anything bad. It's like chattering, you know. It's kind of like how at work, me and my some of my coworkers, we'll talk about like our family and just our jobs in general. Well, as a kid, you're not gonna talk to kids about like your job and stuff like that. It was just the conversations was just things that you would talk to other adults about, but not kids. So yeah, I'm not. I would say that when you see stuff like that, she really hadn't been paying attention to this woman. This woman was like the what do you want to call it, the spotlight in this lobby, which is a red flag, by the way, big red flag. So I try to and see at that point I would have probably went back up to my room and just watched the game in silence because that's too much. That's like chaoticness right there.
Table. And she's like, I just want you guys to know that I really wanted to Kim tonight. I was like, holy TMI, like I do not even know you, woman. And you're like 30. Why are you telling me this? But she did tell me. So I was just like, okay. And she was like, but honestly, what I really wanted to come back here and tell you guys is that I don't know him. And she was like, he seemed like a really nice, respectable guy, but I don't know what he's gonna do to me when he gets me alone. She said, for all I know, he could murder me. And I was thinking, I mean, yeah, you got a point. She's like, he gave me the hotel name that he's staying at and the room number that he's in if I wanna go. But she was like, you never know what people are gonna do when they get you behind closed doors. And I was like, true, okay. So she's like going on and on and on, like talking about this. Then she realizes once again, she's getting on my nerves. So she goes and sits back down. Then the game's almost over. There's like 5 minutes left. It's very clear we're gonna win. So I guess she decides to push her luck and come back and talk to us.
So I hate to tell y'all this. I'm just gonna tell y'all what y'all need to do. She said you said this woman could sense that she was getting on her nerve. I would have just told the person. And this is why y'all need to be straightforward and forthcoming and forthright with people. I would have told her it's just like when I was meeting a friend at oh my gosh, what was it? It was Five Guys. This was like this had been like 4 years ago. I was meeting a friend and her boyfriend at Five Guys, and I had this guy that worked there continuously interrupting me while I'm trying to talk to my anime. And I told him, hey, I'm not to be rude, but hey, and he did that 3 times. On the third time, I had to tell him, hey, I get that you're a good fan, but I'm in the middle of talking to them. You know, I had to sit there and say that because he just kept coming up, just talking to me, and I'm over here talking, having an actual conversation, and he's just sitting here just interrupting. And I sit there and looked, and I was like, uh huh, okay. And I kept going back. The first time he did it, there was silence, but I was literally in the middle of talking to them. So the third time he did it, I had to cut it off. That's what y'all need to do when y'all see people doing that shit to y'all, and you're like at a place, just want to have a good time, and then you got someone like continuously coming up to you. Just be like, hey, you seem like a cool person, but I'm here, want to enjoy the game. I want to enjoy time with my friends. We would just prefer not to be bothered. Just be upfront, and that's how you approach it. That's how you approach it. But you gotta be straightforward because see, she was trying to not be rude because that's a thing in the South. And she said she's from Kentucky. I don't know if they talk like that. I thought she was from Alabama because they do talk like that in Alabama. I know because I was in Alabama for a whole year. So, but yes, make sure that when someone gets on your nerves, you let them know about it up front. Don't wait. Don't try to be nice because you don't want to hurt their feelings. Be upfront about it.
Again, she's still alone, no one else in there, it's just her, and she's like back there talking to us. She's talking about this guy again. She called him Mike. She starts talking about like how we're so beautiful, and she's like, I hate being blonde headed and blue eyed. She's like, it's such a target for people, and she was like, you just can't trust anybody, and she's like, you guys are so beautiful, you should never go anywhere alone. Like, she's like hinting at all this stuff, and I was just like, not thinking anything of it. Like, I was just thinking she's one of us, like she's in the same situation, because it's true, it is difficult for like girls to go places alone, especially in places like New York City now. Mind you, like, I don't really know anything about her. So we start talking, and we're like, oh, where are you from? Like, what are you doing here? She's like, what are you guys doing here from Kentucky? And we were like, our moms are running the marathon tomorrow. We're here with our grandmothers and her sister. We're telling her all this information. She's like, oh, cool. I'm from Connecticut. And I was like, okay, what are you doing down here? And she's like, I'm just trying to stay out of jail. Huh? And she's like, yeah, my husband's trying to get me thrown in jail. Okay, she gave us the whole backstory. She goes on to tell.
You know, this is a psychological scheme that people do where they try to tell the truth about stuff, thinking that you're not going to, that you're going to trust them because they're telling you the truth about stuff. And I'm telling you right now, that shit don't work on me. Listen, if you sit here, I've had a girl literally tell me that she had been in jail, and what she was, I forgot what she was in jail for, but it was some, it was fishy. Now I did press her about it, and just the, after the second conversation, I was like, yeah, I got, nope. I was like, nope. And that's what y'all need to start doing. When you see, when that conversation came up, be like, yeah, we about to go. At that point, I would have been like, yeah, well, actually, I would love to talk to you, but it's getting late. It's time to go to bed. The game was already over with. So they should have immediately left to go back up to the hotel to go to bed. I'm just saying. So yeah, this is a very great tactic here that people use where they try to tell the truth about something, hoping that to gain your trust because they're telling you things that you know is true. Because who's gonna really tell you that they've been to jail, right? If I told y'all I've been to jail and all that, y'all would believe me because why would I put that out there about myself? But that woman probably never been to jail in her life.
Us that like he beats her and he's abusive and all this stuff, so like naturally like we fall into the conversation, we feel really bad for her. She says that her
Yep.
husband, her son that lives out in California, didn't feel safe with her son that lived at home living with the father, so he asked her to leave the dad. I mean, if he beats her, she should have left him anyways. So she says that she tells him that she wants to leave him, and then he goes to the police and says that she threatened to murder him, and then he got her thrown in a sock. So this is when I'm thinking, okay, she's acting like this because she's literally psycho. But at the same time, like, I still enjoyed her. I felt bad for her at this point because, like, oh my gosh, this woman, like, she's had a hard life. Her husband beats her. Like, oh my gosh, I feel so sorry for her. I was like, I mean,
Yep.
I'm just gonna sit here and listen to her talk. So like, she's telling us this story forever. We get closer. We spend like an hour getting to know her whole life. Like, she tells us everything about her. Mind you, it's like midnight at this point. Okay, asking us like if we have boyfriends and stuff, and she was saying how she would love to hook us up with her sons. That, and she like gets on her Facebook and she's showing us pictures of her family, of her two sons, of her husband. She's showing us all this. So like, naturally, I feel like a friend to her now. Like, even though I'm thinking she's 30, we could be friends. Her kids are definitely older. So I'm like, how old are you? And she's like 54. And I was like, 54? I was like, I thought you were maybe 30, maybe 20. Like, I was 54. Like, guys, she did not like 54. And
So
she's
she
like, no,
wasn't.
here, look at my passport. And I was like, okay, why not your ID? But okay, whatever, passport
Yeah.
works. So she shows us her passport, like she's 54, telling us how she travels.
Yeah. That's another thing about passports. Passports can be easily faked. Easily faked. So now I want to say this. I don't know anything about this woman's life, but the fact that you listen, I can recall 2 or 3 times where people have tried to tell me about their chaotic life. I cut that shit short. I don't want to hear about your chaotic life. I didn't live a chaotic life. I sure the fuck don't want to be hearing about your damn chaotic life. This is why it is important, if you have not lived a chaotic life, do not, do not talk to people who've lived a chaotic life. I don't care if it's relationships, friendships, strangers. Don't do it. It is a waste of your damn time. It doesn't matter. Even if you're like riding the bus, listen to it and get off the freaking bus. In her case, once the game was over with, both of them should have went back up to the hotel room. They should have went back to the hotel room. But yeah, this is how they hook y'all. And I think women are very vulnerable because women are very social people, and normal women are very nurturing. I can tell this is a very caring, nurturing type of woman. So she's going to be a victim. Now, keep in mind, masculine men, such as myself, will want to protect women like her. That's what we're built for. Because I would, especially if I was her boyfriend, would have told her, hey, you need to come back upstairs because that's weird. And I don't know why you're even down there dealing with that shit. You need to come back upstairs. You know what I'm saying? She's cute. You know, she reminds me of somebody, of another YouTuber. But this YouTuber has a super high pitched voice. I haven't seen her in a while, actually.
All the time to all these places, and she's like, do you guys speak any different languages? And I'm like, no. Well, so then she goes back to her husband. She's talking about how he's a Christian.
Now, keep in mind, this is New York, so her having a passport is technically not out of the ordinary for New York. I mean, you're gonna probably find lots of people. I bet there'd be at least a ton of people that have passports. So that's not really a red flag. In fact, the whole red flag is just her being around y'all, period. Again, chaotic lives. Do not talk to people with a chaotic life.
Christian, but he's not a follower of Christ. And she's giving us a Bible lesson, and she's telling us how she's a Christian, but also not a follower of Christ. And it's just like super weird at this point, and I'm like ready for bed because it's like after midnight. So then she starts talking about us some more. We've already been talking about us a little bit. Like, she knows what we're there for. She knows where we're from. She knows who we're with. And we've like showed her pictures of our moms and like who we were with and stuff. Because I mean, I considered her a friend. She's already asked us about school and stuff, and we've told her. And she tells me that she knows a girl that goes to the University of Kentucky, and she pulls up her Facebook and she shows us that. Like, she was a very trustworthy woman, guys. Like, everything was backed up with facts. We start talking about things that are like gonna happen in the future, and every time I would say something like it's gonna happen or I'm gonna do this, she'd be like, whoa, back up, wait a minute, like it might happen. And I was like, yeah, I guess, like I'm pretty sure it's gonna happen, but okay. And she'd be like, it might happen. And then one time, like, I walked away for a minute and she asked Katie, the girl I was with, have you known her for a while? And Katie was like, yeah, my whole life. And she was like, I'm really worried about her. She's like, she seems really impulsive. Okay, thanks. But Katie told me that later. She's asking us about school again, and she's like, hold on, I can't keep up, let me write this down. I was like, huh? So, guys, like in front of our faces where we could see what she was doing, she gets in her backpack, pulls out a notepad, flips the pages a few times, pulls out a pencil, and she starts writing. Jade, Eastern Kentucky University, elementary education major. She wrote down Katie's name, where Katie goes to school, what Katie's majoring in. And I was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? I didn't ask any questions. I still really liked the woman. I thought she was just crazy.
Well, I tell y'all, chaos is attracted to chaos. Again, this would have been a time to leave. I'm just saying, this is bad. You know what? Even if you didn't want to be rude and mean, this would have been it was after midnight. You obviously are there for a marathon, so you should have just said, hey, it's nice meeting you, but we got to get to bed. I would have left way before that. You know what I'm saying? I would have left way before that. I didn't care about the demeanor. Let's keep going.
I was like, maybe she's just lonely. I did not understand what was happening. Like, I tell you, you listen to the story now, it sounds stupid. You live in the story, you just don't really think anything.
I want y'all to understand, it's not her fault. This is in a woman's nature to be nurturing and caring. And obviously, she's a very nurturing, caring woman. What can you do? Right? There's nothing you can do about that. But does it get you in trouble? Yeah. Now, would this be different if she was like a masculine woman, kind of like y'all? I don't need no man, blah, 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 blah. I'm a feminist, da, 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 da. It would still happen to y'all. Because what these people do is they actually sense your personality and they adjust their actions around your personality. They're very good at that.
Of it. So then, like, this was like the first real red flag we had, and then from here on out, the story just goes downhill. Katie started coughing, and she was like, "Oh my god, let me go get you some water." So she like runs over to the bar and gets Katie a glass of water. Where I'm like watching her because like I mean I didn't really expect her to drug it or anything, but I was like just making sure she didn't. If I would have been Katie, I probably wouldn't have drank the water just because like after she wrote the information down, I was a little sketched out, but I still trusted her, and Katie drank the water anyways, and it was fine, thank God. So I don't know if that was like a way of her trying to get us to trust her. As we're talking, like we're telling her more about us and like our lives and stuff, probably almost 1 o'clock in the morning at this point. As we're talking, like her head is going. It's just looking out the window, and like the window looked out into Times Square. And so Katie like turned around once with her. I was not even noticing that she was doing that, but apparently she was. So like when she looked, Katie looked, she was like, "Oh, sorry, am I making you nervous looking out the window like that?" She was like, "I just like look off into the distance when I talk to people sometimes." I mean, I wasn't nervous. Like I did not even think anything of it. She brought the attention to it, and then it was weird. And then I was like, is someone out there? Like, are you waiting on something? So that was like the second red flag. You know, she's already told us she's got a friend in Kentucky and she's coming to visit her in a couple of months. And she's like, "I should get your all's numbers if you're ever up here. Like, we can hang out, blah, blah, blah. Maybe we can go watch your moms together in the marathon tomorrow," all this stuff. I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Like, I'll give you my number." Don't know why I thought that would be a good idea. But then she puts her phone on the counter, she pulls up contacts, and then she gets out of contacts, and I'm watching her do this. And then she goes to Facebook. "I'll just add you guys on Facebook." And I was like, "Okay." So guys, we've never ever gave her our last names. Like, I promise that is a fact. And she goes to type in Katie's name, and she types in Katie and her last name. And we both looked up at each other and we were like, we did not give her our last names, guys. I don't know how she knew that. She's like, "I can't find you. Like, maybe you should just add me." So we were like, "What do we do now?" Say no. So we added her, and like on her Facebook account, she looked 54, but in person, she didn't. I mean, she was definitely the same person, but she looked older. So I added her on Facebook. We sit there and talk to her for 20 more minutes, and then we're both just like officially a little bit sketched out and ready for bed. So we were like, we need to get away. We didn't really want to go up to the room just because I was afraid she was being so protective over us. She even said the reason I didn't go home with Mike is because I wanted to stay here with you guys and make sure that you were okay. Like, you're not my mom. I'm literally in the lobby of my hotel. We decided we're gonna go to the bathroom in the lobby, and we're thinking that'll be how we get away from her, and then we can go to the room. Katie said, "I have to pee," and she was like, "Oh yeah, we'll go to the bathroom." And I was like, on the way to the bathroom, there's like a big poster, and it was for the marathon that people took pictures in front of. And she walks up to it and she's like, oh, let me take your all's picture in front of this, and you can send it to your mom. They'll love it." I was like, "No, I don't really want my picture taken." And then it clicked in my head, and I was like, she took a picture. Before she ever spoke to us, she took a picture of me. Like, I'm on her phone, and now she's trying to take another picture of me. So now I'm freaked out. So then like it's very obvious that she's wasting time, that she's stalling for some reason. So she walks on over to the poster and she starts like posing in front of it. "Here, like we could take one like this or one like this." And I was like, "No, like I really don't want my picture." I said, "If you want me to take one of you, I will, but I'm not taking one." She's trying to kill time. So we walked to the back of the hotel where the bathroom was, and there's a security guard back there. And she's like, "Excuse me, sir, can you tell me where the bathroom is?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's right up that ramp to the left." So like you could go up the ramp and keep going straight. You could go up the ramp and go to the right, and there were stairs, or you could go up the ramp and go to the left, and there was a sign that said restrooms. So we walk up the ramp, and she starts going up these stairs, and we were like, "He said it was to the left." And she's like, "No, I'm pretty sure he says up the steps." And I was like, "That sign says restrooms." So that was another red flag. What's up those steps that she's trying to get me up there for? Well, she comes right down the stairs, and we go to the bathroom. To get into the bathroom, you have to use your hotel key. So she used hers. She swaps it. We go in, and Katie goes in the stall. The woman, she's like, "I just love the security here at this hotel." She's like, "It's so safe, but I'm gonna stand outside just to make sure like no creepy men get inside." So then I'm officially like, we're gonna open this bathroom door, and there's gonna be men standing there, and they're going to kidnap us, and they're going to take us. I was like, that's what's happening. I'm ready to open this door and fight for my life. Like, I was expecting it. So Katie texts me. I'll insert the picture.
Okay.
We thought that was the end. So I'm like, oh, I don't have to pee either, so I'll stand out there with you. She doesn't go out there. She comes back in the bathroom. We hightail it out of the bathroom. The only option is to go to the room. In order to get on these elevators, you have to press the floor that you're going to, and then it tells you which elevator to get on. So I let her put hers in first, and she put 15, and we were on 14. They put us on the same elevator, and we ride it up, and I gave her a hug. I was like, good night. Like, I've had so much fun getting to know you. Like, hope to see you again. We literally, guys, get off the elevator, and both of our phones go off. Says, I'm gonna make up a name for her, Hannah. Hannah is waving at you. Then we get another message, and she's messaging both of us, and I'll just put all the screenshots on the screen.
Okay. Oh, you can't blow it up.
We walk onto the room, we're standing outside, we're talking about it, and I'm like, you know, like, I hate to do this because she was so nice. Just in case, like, there was just too many weird things. We should probably block her. So we do. We block her, and then I'm like, okay, good night. So we're ready to go in our two different rooms. Katie's key doesn't work, and we both knew. I said, is there any way you had it, like, near your phone that could have deactivated it? And she's like, no, I set it on the table, so that didn't happen. And we were both like, she switched the key right in front of us, and we didn't notice. We were like, maybe not. Like, maybe it just deactivated. So Katie knocks on the door. We both go to bed. So I did not know what happened after that until the next night. So the next morning, our moms get up to run the marathon. I go with my grandmother for the day. Katie and her sister and their grandmother go for the day. We don't see each other, so we just kind of brushed off the whole situation. We're like, haha, tonight we're gonna tell you guys about this crazy woman we met last night. Like, the story is so funny. At dinner after the marathon, when we all sat down, we were like, okay, we're gonna tell you guys the full story. So we told them basically everything that I just told you, but more. They were so pissed. They were like, you guys are so stupid. She's obviously working for somebody. She's obviously, that's so sex trafficking. I can't believe you didn't pick up on that, blah, blah. I can't believe you drank the water. Going off on us. I was like, I promise. Like, she seemed so harmless. She was so nice. My mom texted someone. I'm not going to say who because I don't know if this woman's going to watch it or not, and I don't want to get any names thrown out under the bus. But my mom texted someone she knew could find out information about this woman. Literally, like, 10 minutes later, she gets a text message. Her face, guys, was like pale white. We were all like, what? Like, so she shows it to me, and this person found out that, you don't have to believe me, but it's true, that the woman that I literally spent 5 hours with, sharing all of my information, like, the only thing this woman doesn't know about me is my social security number, is on the FBI's most wanted list. Now, like, when I say most wanted, I'm not sure the depth of that, but she is on the FBI list. I don't know. The whole situation to me was just, like, mind-boggling. This is when Katie decides to tell the part of the story that I didn't know, that no one knew. I was already crying because I'm like, oh my God, she knows everything. Katie's like, okay, so last night when my key didn't work, I took a shower, and when I got out of the shower, the door to the hotel room was cracked. I was like, how did you go to sleep? Like, obviously she knew her mom would have ran the marathon if she said anything, and that was the whole reason we went to New York. Kind of understand, and she's put the lock on the door. So that clarified that she switched our keys, and she's obviously known what floor we were on, and she just went by and tried the key on all the doors until it worked. And the only thing we could think was she's tried it, it's worked. She didn't want it to slam back, so she just cracked it. We were like, immediately we left dinner, went back to the hotel. I told the security guard the whole story, and he got us new room keys, and he walked us up to our room to, like, check them and make sure nobody was in there and nothing was gone. So, like, I still don't know why she came in there or, like, what her plan was with the key, but she knew we weren't leaving until Monday night, and this was just Sunday. But instead of going into detail about everything that happened next, I'm gonna start wrapping this up because the main point of the story and the awareness is out. I ended up having to talk to the main head of security. I asked him to go back and run the cameras. I wanted to see who was at the top of the steps. We wanted to see her get in the room. We wanted to see all this stuff. And it turns out that in New York, it's against the law to have cameras in the bathrooms, up the steps, in the hallways, on the floors where the rooms are, because NBA players and stuff, like, apparently cheat on their wives, and it can be like a lawsuit or whatever. That's what we were told. We had to file a report. It was messy, all this stuff. I don't want to get into that for halfway safety reasons, halfway because it's just kind of unnecessary, but, like, that was a process. And Basically, I just told him, I was like, okay. I was like, she gave out hint after hint after hint about sex trafficking. Is it possible that she just really liked us and wanted us to get away? And he was like, there's no way. There's too much money in that. Two scenarios. One, she thought we really trusted her because up until the minute that elevator door shut, it really seemed like we did. And she thought she had a chance tomorrow. You saw, like, the next day, you saw the messages, like she said, go watch our moms at the marathon together and stuff. It would seem a lot easier to like kidnap two grown girls, I guess, out in the streets of New York, possibly call us an Uber to go to the marathon, and then of course it not be an Uber, rather than like try to get us out of the hotel room kicking and screaming. He told us, I 100% know for a fact that if you would have walked outside of this hotel with her, you would not be here. He was like, you're very lucky to be here anyways, but if you would have went outside with her, you wouldn't been. He also made it very clear that the guy that walked in that was in the suit, Mike, was with her. That was all part of the plan. Second scenario, her job is done. She did everything she needed to do, and she got all the information that she needed to get. There's someone else out there that basically is going to kidnap you. And I was like, great. So that seemed like the more likely reason, if there's that much money in it, that she wouldn't have let us go. So it's been a month now, and I'm still here, and I feel so lucky because like of how bad the situation could have been. Like, the guy told me, he was like, you know, when you go back to school, being on college campus, you need to be really careful. These people, he said, this is New York City, and I know you don't worry about that as much in Kentucky. And I'm sitting here thinking in the back of my mind, are you kidding me? I hear stories about this all the time. He was like, these people work together all over the world. But since it's been a month, I feel like it's okay to talk about. I try to take into consideration that even though we blocked her on Facebook, we still had her as a friend for like an hour probably. So if someone else had her password, they could have logged in, got whatever information they needed to know. Even though we had her blocked on Facebook, she blocked Katie's mom, and this was like 2 days after we got home. Katie's mom looked her profile up again, and she was blocked from it. And she was like, well, obviously she's went and found me and blocked me, and there's no way she would have been able to find her without had already having her off of our profile. And then like 2 more days after that, Katie's mama sent us a text that said, hey, Hannah, what did I call her? Hannah Haley just added me on Facebook. So we were like, obviously she's not done with whatever she started because she's still tampering with our families. I'm hoping that it's over, and I'm really, really, really hoping that she or the wrong person does not see this video. I hope that you can take a lesson out of this, and I definitely took a big lesson out of it. Like, I'm the most trusting person. This was like a big eye-opener for me that you literally can't trust everybody. It's crazy, and I tried to like dim it down to make it not seem so bad. I left out so many details to make the story shorter, but that's the basic gist of it, and I just wanted to share it with you guys. So this is why I haven't posted in a month, and I hope you guys are careful and safe out there, and I hope you enjoyed this, even though it's not very like entertaining. It's different.
Such a sweetheart. Anyways, okay. So there you go. I just basically gave you my commentary on what should have happened. She should have left long ago. And I've done that myself. I've left. I can't say the conversation was anything like that. But even if I'm in the middle of a conversation, if I don't know you, I'll listen to you up until a certain point, and I gotta hightail it. So let's get into my sex trafficking, possible sex trafficking thing that happened when I was. This happened in 2002 summertime. I want to say this was June of 2002 because I was working third shift, and I know this would have happened on a Friday. Well, this would have been on a Saturday. It would have been Saturday because I was actually walking downtown. It was about 6 o'clock, so it's still daylight. Sun is out. So I was walking downtown in my hometown, and I was walking down the path downtown. Lots of people walking back and forth. So I wasn't by myself. Okay, at all. I mean, I was by myself, but I wasn't the only person on the path. I mean, there was a lot of people walking back and forth. So as I'm walking north, I just happened to look. As I was walking north, I was looking right ahead over here by the statue. Now, from where this person was sitting to the actual pavement path, walking path, or sidewalk, basically. Um, and by the way, the sidewalk is pretty far from the street, so you, no harm in it. So a lot of times, if you're driving, you'll see people walking on the sidewalk, but they're pretty far away. Just want to give y'all some context. But anyways, He had to have been about 500 feet away, so quite a great distance. And I kind of noticed him just like sitting there, just kind of like people watching. And you could tell. Listen, I know I've seen people watch. You could tell when someone's people watching, right? So I'm walking. I didn't. I look. I saw him, but as I got, so he's right. Hold on. He's right here. I'm right here, and I'm walking. Let me put the distance out a little bit more. Hold on. So the distance out about right here, relatively. So as I'm walking, I don't look at him no more. I just keep walking. And once I get parallel to him, on the corner of my eye, that's where I see him kind of start walking towards the path. Not necessarily towards me, but just towards the path. And I want to say about 3 seconds into him walking, I think I heard him say, "Sir," but I didn't really say nothing. I just kept straight, kept on going. Because when I saw him again, he just looked suspicious as hell. That's suspicious as hell anyway. You just sitting there, people watching. Who the fuck? Nobody does that shit. I know people sit down and just be chilling, but just to be watching people, something was wrong. So I heard something. I kept walking, and then probably about 10 seconds later, I get a tap on my shoulder, and it's this guy. And he's like, "Hey, I don't mean to bother you. I can't." I'm trying to think of what he said because it's been a while. But he was like, "I'm sorry to bother you. But I was just wondering because I'm not. He was saying that he wasn't from here, which I'm just gonna tell you right now. This is one of the things I listened to. Right? He said he wasn't from here. He said that he was wondering about where exactly where he was at. He was like, he was with his brother and his wife, his brother and his wife, but they live on such and such street. And I was like, yeah, I know where that's at. He was like, oh, so you're from here? I was like, yeah, yeah, I'm from here. He was like, so where do you live in the area? I was like, yeah, I live in the area. He was like, where do you live exactly at? So I was like, yeah, I live pretty much in this area. He's like, in this area. I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Now here's the thing. I really didn't live in that because I was downtown. I am nowhere near downtown. I don't live nowhere near downtown. But I was just like, yeah, I live in the general area. And he asked me, um, he was like, well, they live on this street. And I was like, I was thinking about myself, I was like, this street, I was like, do you know, he didn't know which direction. And I asked him, do you know any other streets? And he told me, I was like, oh, yeah, I know where that's at, which I didn't know where it was at. I was like, yeah, that's back off that way. I was like, yeah, that's exactly where I live, over back off this way too. I was like, I live on I told him I can't think of the street that I named, but it's near my uncle's house, but it's like on the opposite end of that. And I just wanted to see if he was gonna say anything. So anyways, he was like, yeah, man, I ended up getting stranded here. I was like, stranded? I'm like, what do you mean stranded? I was like, well, I'm not from here. I'm like, where you originally from? He told me where he was from. I forgot what he said. And he said it was his first time here. And then we kept talking, and he was saying something about, yeah, him and his brother got into a fight, and his brother and his wife basically left him. And I told him, oh, okay, that's too bad. And he was like, well, I was actually kind of wondering, he kept rambling on and rambling on. And I was trying to just walk. And he like, well, I was just wondering, are you gonna be around here for a while? And I was like, probably. I don't know. I have to see. Now I want y'all to understand something. I kept walking north. There's a couple things in this context. Number one, I parked my car in the parking garage. Okay, I parked my car in the parking garage. So I just want y'all to give context on this because this is gonna be good. So eventually, him rambling on, he decided to say, "Hey, well, I was going to wonder if you could just take me up there to my brother's house." I was like, "Well, can't you just call him?" And I was like, "Well, I don't have a phone." He said he didn't have a phone. I was like, "Well, I have a phone." Well, I don't really know his number. I'm bad with numbers. I was like, "Well, here's the thing. I'm probably gonna be here for a while, and I told him that technically, if you just walk straight ahead, just keep walking. And I told him where to turn off. I'm like, once you walk, you can turn on this street. He's like, well, I'm not from here, blah blah blah. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna be going anywhere soon. I got things I gotta do when I get done here. I'm just come here to just kind of walk. And then eventually, he kept asking me, well, where did you park? Where did you park? I was like, well, I parked over here. Now I told him that I parked by the fountain. And the reason why I told him I parked by the fountain was because there was some police officers there. See, I first off, just him rambling and talking about stuff, he kind of weirded me out. I'm gonna be honest with you, I kind of weirded me out. I've had random people talk to me, but not just off in the damn distance come up to me and just he picked me out of everybody. And I saw him looking at me, by the way, when as I was walking, he was looking at me and in my direction. So he was targeting me. So he keeps rambling on, rambling on, rambling on, and da 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 da. And then I turned around because I didn't want to keep going because lots of people sometimes when they're walking to a certain place. So I wanted to walk backwards because there's a lot of people still around. As you keep walking ahead, it becomes less people. So I could turn back around, and he turned back around with me. So it's like, so are you gonna go? And I was like, yeah, I think I'm probably am gonna go. And I was saying that because again, I just told you there was some police officers by this fountain, and so I was gonna sit there and I was gonna walk towards the police officers and let them know this guy is bothering me. Because I told him like, I didn't want to be, I'm just kind of want to be myself, blah blah blah, and I wasn't gonna take him. He was like, yeah, yeah, and he kept talking and trying to butter me up and all this other crap. So he mentioned something that was interesting. Now, number one, he kept mentioning that him and his brother got into an argument, but I remember him also saying something about that. At first, he said that his brother and his wife and stuff, and then he started saying that his brother and his girlfriend. I was like, oh, I thought they was married. He's like, oh, well, no, no. I mean, they might well be married. You know whether or not your brother is married or have a girlfriend. So the story wasn't consistent. The other thing that I remember with talking with him, he was mentioning something about that he had been in town for this a week, and he said he didn't know the area that well, but he mentioned that they had went to this restaurant up north. It wasn't even too far from where he was supposedly lived at, and I told him, oh yeah, well that's actually where. So you know where that's at then, because he's saying something is right across from the gas station. I was like, yeah, that's actually the street right next to it that you would just. So if you kept going this way, you can walk. You'll be there in about 15 minutes, and then you can just turn left, and you'll be right there. It's that street, really, literally right across from the 7-Eleven. He's like, well, even if I get to that street, I won't know. And I'm like, really? So that was red flag number two. So at that point, I just kept walking because, like I said, I was gonna keep walking until I get to the police, um, and stuff. And luckily, I ran into a friend of mine. And when I ran into that friend of mine, me and him was talking and carrying on, and he was actually with some people too. And I started walking with them. And my friend, because the guy actually had stopped. He had stopped. Now let me also tell you too, when he asked me what my name was, I just told him my name was Mike. Cause see, my family members and people stuff, they call me Mike. Cause my middle Michael is my middle name, but they call me Mike. I didn't tell him my first name because I didn't know who the hell he was. And again, he gave me creepy ass vibes. But anyways, I had some friends. They stopped by, and I was talking to him, and then I started hanging out with them, and went with them. And then he kind of just sat there and looked, and then eventually he wandered off, and my friend was like, "Is that guy with you?" I was like, "He was walking with me and being weird." I was like, "But no, I'm like, let's keep going." After that, I didn't see him no more. Matter of fact, I stayed with my friend for a little bit, and then I walked across the street, and then I kept walking, and I kept looking back. I had a matter of fact, what I did is I kind of waited till I could see some people going into the garage themselves, and then I left. And this was probably about This whole situation happened, went on for about 20 minutes. Now, here's the thing that I want to take away from a couple things about this. One, was that a possibility of sex trafficking or human trafficking? I can't say sex trafficking, human trafficking, maybe. One, because the guy knew I had a car. The other thing, too, that now I'm thinking about, he did ask me what type of car I drove, and I told him it was a Honda Accord, and he kept asking details about it. Right? I told him a Honda Accord. I told him it was a red Honda Accord. I wasn't going to tell him what I really was driving, which was actually a Nissan Sentra. He asked me what year. I told him, yeah, it was a 1990 Honda Accord. I told him it was black. I think it was either red or black. I don't even remember. Hell, I know I told him a color, but I didn't want him. And then he started asking me about how long I've been in the city. Am I new? Have I been born here? And stuff like that. And then he was asking me about my parents, what their names were, if I had any brothers and sisters. And people don't typically ask, you what the name of your parents' names are. Like they don't do that. They might ask, do you have brothers? How many sisters you have? But they don't ask for your name. Not no stranger. So he was doing a lot of that, and it's like he was trying to fish for information, and stuff. I was just giving him wrong information because I didn't know who the hell he was, and I wasn't going to tell him, no, I don't want to talk. And matter of fact, when I originally tried to get him away from me, I told him, well, I just want to be by myself. I don't really want to be bothered. And he was like, oh man, you can't do that because if you was in trouble, then I would help you, right? And he was trying to give me that whole lecture talk. I was like, well, if I was in trouble, I would just call my family member. I wouldn't be talking to, going around asking people to take me places. Like I was educating him as a 19-year-old man. Well, because I think he was in his he said he was like 40 or something, and I told him, well, why would you? Because he told me what happened. I was like, well, why would you do that? Because that's kind of wrong of you to do that. It's like maybe you should just apologize to him. Like that would be the best. That would be the best thing. He's like, well, we just be playing. And he said that they be playing games where they'll do stuff like that. And I'm like, that don't sound like something that an adult would do. And if that was something that they do, I would never be hanging out with them, period. People, I was spitting game to him. Like I told you, the whole situation was just weird. I was weirded out by it. What else do I remember? Um, I think that's really about it for that story. Now, I want to fast forward to like pretty much damn near 2 decades later because I just thought about this like even like 2 years ago when I was looking into sex trafficking and human trafficking because there's two types of human trafficking: is sex trafficking and labor trafficking. And I don't know what I would have fell into because of my age, 19-year-old black man, just walking downtown. But it's really weird. Um, I- I look at stories like this and signs of stuff like this, and I be thinking to myself, damn, you know what? That could have been a trafficking incident right there that I avoided. But that's just kind of how I was raised. I was raised to not tell strangers, stuff about me like that. And I would fabricate. And see, the reason why I was so comfortable telling him lies is because I used to tell strangers, I used to have lots of people just randomly talk to me as a kid. Like, on the public buses, they would talk to me. I would just tell them like a name, like Mike. That was my go to, Mike. Or I would tell them my name is Antonio. I think it was Antonio or Anthony. It was either one. I think it was Anthony. I know. I think it was Anthony because I was thinking I got a cousin name that's Ranthony, so I was like Anthony would be better probably than Mike. But I also go by Mike because that's technically my nickname from my family members. But yeah, I used to have people talk to me all the time and stuff. So that wasn't really anything new. I didn't also will say that those people that did talk to me didn't fish for information. It was really just them talking about themselves and what was going on in their lives and all this other stuff. They typically didn't ask me any questions about me or other than like basic stuff like, hey, are you originally from here? Um, what grade are you in? You know, and stuff like that. But nothing like I'm trying to see what I can get on you and stuff. And I think if I would have ended up taking him home, I could have been kidnapped. I'm just imagining because his whole story and the things that he was telling me did not make sense. There were situations where I even said, well, maybe you should apologize to him, or maybe you should wait. Because I was like, if he really is your brother and he's done this before, he's not going to leave you here at night. He was like, well, I don't know, because he was kind of mad. I'm like, yeah, you probably just over exaggerate. I'm like, if you stay here long enough, then I think you'll be fine. Plus, I'm just going to be blunt with you. The way that he was standing over on that sideline, just again, people watching. Anyone that don't know anything about people watching is just basically just sitting there and you're literally just watching people. Your eyes will turn and watch somebody walk by, or and you might say hi or stuff like that, or you'll and even as a person, an innocent bystander, will see someone watching you. Now I've never had anyone just sit there and watch me like that. He was literally watching in my direction, especially as I got closer. I didn't even look in his direction. I kept it moving. But just the way that he was operating, it did not look like someone whose brother had just left him. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I know that if some family member left me and I was in a city like this, I wouldn't be just sitting there. If anything, I probably would be if I may end up asking like, "Hey, excuse me, do you know about such and such and such, or how to get to this street?" I even told him how to get to the street, and he didn't want to even go. He wanted me to take him. So that was like super red flag. Plus, I was like, I'm not gonna be hauling people, and that's another thing about me too. When I have got my license, I even told my cousin names, I ain't taking y'all nowhere. No, I told them that if y'all need to go somewhere, hit me up, cause they were cool. But I told them I'm not. But don't be telling your friends about I got a license. I'm not telling your friends anywhere. I'm not a taxi. I'm not doing all that shit. I don't care if you pay me. I don't care if you pay me $100. I wasn't finna be a taxi. I wasn't gonna do that. But yeah, that's my pretty much my story. You know, obviously not as crazy as her story, but that just kind of goes to show you that how you move in life will prevent you from having to deal with certain things. He obviously had a chaotic life too. I never grew up with a chaotic life. That's why I wanted to get away from his ass because I'm like, you got too many damn issues as an adult. You're almost like the same. I think he was the same age as my mom at the time. So it's like, how are you moving like that as a man when you should be like having family and like working and all this other crap? So it was just weird and stuff. But yeah, I probably was gonna get trafficked too. And I'm just going off of this kind of the warning sign, like what she was saying. Him fishing for information. Now, back then, we didn't have social media or nothing, but he did ask for my phone number. And I told him that, well, I can give you my phone number, but I told him that I am probably going to end up getting it changed because I'm going off to college. And he asked me what college I'm going to, and I told him U of A. I told him U of A. So, and I don't know what damage he could have done at that time. See, here, this is dangerous because social media is, oh my gosh, you can find out here's one thing that some people don't know about. You can actually do extensive background checks on someone as long as you got their first and last name. And if you know where they're originally from, easy peasy. Easy peasy. Background check, you can check public records, bankruptcy. You can check to see if they, of course, been to jail and stuff. But you can also check if they've been married. Anything that you've been to the courts is public, is in the public domain. So if you've been divorced, it will show up in the public domain, and you can request it. Especially now that they have the Freedom of Information Act, you can request all kind of stuff on people. Now, is that good or bad thing? If you got stuff to hide, it could be a bad thing. I don't have anything to hide. The only thing that people are gonna find out about me is that I had bankruptcy, and then I had a lawsuit with the student loans. But that's everybody that has student loans. Everyone's gotten sued for their student loans. So if that's a bad thing, then hey, I'm guilty. I'm a bad man. I shook up the world. I must be the greatest. But that's public. That's why when I spit stuff like that, I don't care because I can't keep it hidden because people are gonna do background checks and can actually look the shit up if they wanted to. So yeah, that's the only thing you're gonna find out about me is I did bankruptcy. That was back in 20. I think it was 2011. No, yeah, it was probably 2011. 'Cause I think I had just started a new job, and that was because I was trying to get rid of my student loans while I did bankruptcy. I didn't know that you had to do extra stuff, so that's why I did bankruptcy. And then the student loan lawsuit. I mean, it is what it is. It was stupid. I actually offered them a payment plan, and they didn't want that payment plan. They sued me, and now they're getting less than what I offered. Listen, I'll offer them $100 a week, and they're just getting like 70, between 70 and $80, and that also depends on my income because and I'm paying child support. So yeah, your child support that comes out first. That's like precedence, and then they take out the remaining payments for the loan, student loan. Well, that can range because I've seen it range from like $30 to $80, even up to like $100 and something, depending on how much I make. And so they can only take like 25% of your income total. So that's the reason why the amounts differ because my child support is fixed and that's how much it's going to come out, period. With that being said, with that also being said, I'm not worried about public records, but keep in mind that you people can find out so much information about you, especially if you decide to pay for sites. It's even dangerous today because of social media. So that's why you gotta be mindful and stuff. And you know what? I'm not opposed to if I'm dating a woman, if she does a background check on me, I don't care. Because I think that's good if she does a background check on me. Some people may say it's invasive, but hey, if you ain't got nothing to hide, doesn't matter, right? But anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Thank y'all for rocking with me. But yeah, hopefully y'all took some lessons in this because this is a big issue, and it's even becoming a more of a big issue now that we're in even in smaller towns. Because this happened with a stranger that she didn't even know. But keep in mind, your own family members, neighbors, they could all be a part of a sex trafficking ring. And like she said, that woman, she was only supposed to just play her part and do her part. Her part probably was just to find out as much information on the person to try to get them get like she said they didn't even tell her her last name and she found out what their last names were somehow. But all they had to do is get information from them, do their part, and then they done. That's why, and they put on a big act on it. She probably acted like she was drunk, and she probably did drink a little bit, but not. But she probably oversold it, right? Just being, and people do that shit. But keep that in mind and be aware. Anyways, I am out of here. Y'all take care. Peace, and I am gone.